Hello, thank you for joining in. Finally, back to making videos. Today we are going to learn about string manipulation functions. Base are grep and grepl and their equivalent stringr functions. For those who haven't heard or used grep or stringr functions, these functions are used for pattern matching or partial matching of strings, which can be done using regular expressions or regex. I had previously made a video for grep and grepl, which you can go through first if you want to get more knowledge about this. Okay, so based on different arguments in grep, different kinds of outputs are returned. stringr, on the other hand, has created separate functions for separate arguments. So let's first start with grepl function in its basic form. We can create a dummy vector first. Let's name it x. It has values as a good boy, good, bad, and new. Now this is a character vector of size 4, which we have stored in vector x. Now let's say we are interested in finding out which of these values has a lowercase a alphabet. Right, so from these values, which of the values have a lowercase a? So if you look at this values, you'll see that only bad has a lowercase a, correct? A good boy has a, but that is uppercase. Now using grepl, we can find this out by doing x, right? So this a is the pattern that we are looking for, and x is the vector in which we want to look the pattern. When you run this, you get the output as false, false, true, and false, where false here represents that a good boy does not have a in it, which is correct since a is lowercase. This false represents that good does not have a in it. This true suggests that bad has a in it, whereas the last false here suggests that new does not have a in it. Pretty simple, right? Now the equivalent stringr function to this is strdetect. Let's first load the library stringr. So we can use strdetect as, and this will give the same output as the grepl function here. False, false, true, false, right? This one is true because bad has letter a in it. Well, stringr has reverse arguments than base r functions. In base r, you first have the pattern that we are looking for, and the second argument is the vector in which we are looking the pattern. However, stringr, the first argument is the string vector in which we want to look the pattern, and the second argument is the pattern. As mentioned earlier, this is case sensitive. That is why lowercase a does not match with uppercase a and it returns false. However, you can make this case insensitive by using the parameter ignore.case equal to true. So in grepl, you can pass ignore.case equal to true. Now you'll get the first value as true as well. If you compare the output here with this one, you'll see the only difference is now the first value is also returned as true because we have mentioned ignore.case equal to true. Now to get the same effect in strdetect, we would need to use another function in strdetect, which would be regex, since we are looking for a regex pattern here. Inside regex, we pass ignore underscore case equal to true. The same output as grepl function with ignore.case equal to true. So these two outputs are equivalent. Glancing through the document of grepl, you'll see that by default, grepl has ignore.case equal to false. So if you don't mention anything, like in this case here, by default, the case are not ignored and the pattern which are matched are case sensitive. If you want to ignore the case, you have to pass a flag which is ignore.case equal to true. Now the pattern which are matched are case insensitive. Moving on. Now if you want to invert the output, meaning returning true where there is no A and false where A is present, how can you do that? If we take this output where we get true only when the pattern is present. Now if you want to invert this, so invert false to true and true to false, in grepl we can just negate the grepl value. So now this true value becomes false, whereas rest of the values become true. Similarly, you can also negate strdetect value. However, strdetect provides another argument which is called as negate, which you can set as true, which will give you the same output as this one. Now looking at the documentation of strdetect, you'll see negate is false by default. If we pass true to negate, it will now reverse the result. Now let's take on grep. So what does grep do? Using the same example and the same pattern from grepl, we can use grep now. By default, grep returns index of the match. In this case, the third value. Now look at x. This is first value, this is second value, this is third value, and this is fourth one, correct? So since third is the only value which matches to this pattern that we are looking for, it returns the output as 3. Again, we can use ignore.case to make it case insensitive. Now you'll get the match at position 1 and position 3. So this is matched. A good boy is matched with A now, since we have made it as ignore.case equal to true. The equivalent function of grep in stringr is strwhich. Using the same format that we had previously for strdetect, we can use strwhich as the string, which is x, and then the pattern that we're looking for. Now again, since we want to ignore the case, we can use regex function and pass in ignore case equal to true. Right now you get 1 and 3 as output. Now to invert this value, which means in grepl we had seen that when we wanted to invert the values, which means to return true when there is no match. In that case, we add a negation sign to get the output. Now to do the same for grep function, which means return the index where there is no match. Again, to explain, this is our vector x. It returns 3 because bad has A in it. Now we want to invert this result, which means we want to return 1, 2 and 4 as output. For that, grep has a special flag again, which is invert equal to true, which you can set. So this returns 3. Now to get the inverted values, you can use invert equal to true, which will return 1, 2 and 4. So 1, 2 and 4. So except 3, it will return all the other values. Now with ignore.case equal to true, it will return, any guesses? 2 and 4. Makes sense, right? Because now A is matched from a good boy. It matches that, and since we have passed invert equal to true, it removes it from the output and it only returns 2 and 4. How to get this output using str which? Again, it is same as the previous one. We use negate equal to true, which will give us 1 to 4. Now to have a case insensitive match, we use the regex function, which has ignore underscore case, and we set it as true. Now it will return 2 and 4. Another important argument in grep function is value equal to true. What that does is it returns the value of the actual vector. Let's take an example. So grep an6 gives you the index, the position of the match. With value equal to true, it gives the value of the match. So it says that bad is the vector which has the A pattern that you're looking for. Okay, the equivalent stringr function for this is str subset. Str subset returns the value which is matched with the pattern. Now we can pass additional arguments, additional flags in the similar way as we did previously. By that I mean with value equal to true. Now let's say we use invert equal to true. It gives those values which do not match with the pattern. The pattern A, it is returning all the values which do not match because we are using invert equal to true. If we use ignore.case equal to true, it will return. So now it returns good and new. So with str subset, I think this must be easy for you to guess, as we have already used the functions that we wanted to use. Right, with for invert equal to true, you use negate equal to true, and to pass ignore.case in stringr, which is ignore underscore case, you use the regex function. Gives you good and new. I guess these are the all functions that I had in mind to cover today. I'm uploading the video after 6 months or so. Was the video helpful and easy to understand, or did I lose track in between and it got very confusing? Let me know your comment, feedback or suggestions if you have any in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this. Until next time. Bye bye.